Almost ran into your backpack on your duster.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get a better view of it later on.
Oh, ouch.
You and Dennis both?
Yeah. I know I'm going to be the slowest of the three.
So those are the 9s that eventually I'll have.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
like I
that'd
say,
be cool.
they're brand freaking new. So
these are 10-inch rims on there right
10-inch
now?
wheels, yeah.
Okay.
So what everybody's doing, you probably know, but like in all the street outlaw guys, all the no prep, small tire, pretty much all that stuff, like cash days type stuff. Basically, they have small tire, big tire. If you want to be small tire, you're a 28-10-5. That's the biggest tire you can run.
Okay.
So what everybody's doing to get a 28-10-5 to get more tread surface is putting them on a wider wheel. So they're running like 12 and 14-inch wide wheels with the 28-10-5.
Okay.
So it stretches them out. So I had the 9s and I had the 10-inch wheels. So I figured if I'm going to run it on these when I first get it running, it's probably going to be getting the most out of a 9-inch slick that I can get out of it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be completely like on kill when I first get it running. You know, it's going to be a bit, I'm sure, before everything's dialed in. But
so how far are you from finishing it? So you got the cage in it. You had Funkhauser
Funkhauser did the cage, the rear suspension, and the chute, and the power glide mount.
Wow.
So it's chromoly cage. It'll serve for $850. We ran basically. I didn't want to run big frame connectors in it to keep the weight down, so we ran rocker bars in it. Just to try and put the strength in it, there instead. I wanted the A-pillar bars to go through the dash because I hate when they're in front of the dash and you can't get in and out.
It's a pain in the ass. Mine's like
tall
that.
Door bars and race seats, it's not easy anyways. But
right. Oh man, I love how did the crossbar basically swayed it back.
And it's cool because it's all completely, the seats are adjustable, so you can move the seats back wherever you want them, you can tilt them,
right.
And with all the adjustment you put on it, you can make it to however you want it to get it just right. I had original bucket seats for it that I was going to run, and he told me that I was the kind of people that give him a bad name, because if I ran those stock seats, I'd end up crashing and dying, and then people would blame it on the cage, and it was really because of the seats. And the more he said it, he goes, how fast are you talking about going? He goes, think about it, that kind of mile an hour, if you wreck with a stock seat, what's that seat going to do for you? And total valid point,
probably going to pull out of the floor, right?
So at some point, I bought the Kirky covers for it, but I'm going to end up having the front seat covers done to match the 71 upholstery with the dark gray inserts.
Yeah, that would be bitchin'.
So that way it keeps a factory look to it.
And you got the infamous Mike Coffey.
You gotta have them gold wheels.
Well, golds up front, yeah.
So it'll eventually, the backs, I'm gonna do something, probably gold centers when I do the actual wheels for it.
Okay.
It'll probably be welds with a double bead lock, and probably a black wheel with a gold insert. So it'll kind of all go with the whole look of it.
Yeah. You were talking earlier, so you're talking about blacking out the hood, which is currently orange, but
yeah. So I'm gonna basically black it out to the top of the body, like the
so 340 car.
I think it's V24, the hood blackout.
Right.
It'll go all the way up and wrap around.
Right.
And then cut off right here, and then do the flat black 340 stripes. But I'm gonna leave the old shitty paint, so it'll just kind of have. It'll just look like it was an old unrestored car.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes with what I like.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's freaking way cool. And then the motor. This is not a.
So this engine is it's nothing that crazy. It made 650 on the dyno. It's a 500-inch Indy SR heads, so there's small ports.
Okay.
And really nothing that crazy. It's just gonna have probably a 250, 300 shot on top of it. So
nothing crazy.
Well, I mean, that's small when you're starting to get into bigger nitrous stuff. It's pretty conservative. But, but yeah, basically this is kind of just a shakedown motor for it to get it going, and then I have a set of 440-1 Indy heads that I plan on doing a second engine.
Oh, okay.
And that'll be probably the bigger, better one.
The big dog.
So this one's a hydraulic roller. The other one will be a solid roller.
Okay.
But and hopefully at some point I think I'm probably going to shy away from nitrous and go pro charger.
Really?
So that's where I want to go with it. So
Nice.
originally I was thinking about doing the crank driven one.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point where you can't run a radiator. It takes away from it being a street car. And, I want to keep it as streetable as possible. I mean, I've tried to, kind of everything I'm trying to do is really to kind of keep the car looking pretty stock and original, stock fender wells. It's got all the Riley Motorsports front clip on it.
Yeah.
But you don't really recognize all of that. It just
on the outside
still has a pretty stock.
Still looks like a duster. Yeah.
And even the rear suspension as well. I mean, it got pretty extensive under there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, trying to keep it as stock dash. I'll probably do a radio delete plate.
It's very much a meld between like taking. You're basically taking like a regular duster and then you're just sort of, cutting through it and putting in like a race car.
Yeah.
But without compromising sort of the look of the original duster, you know.
Yeah, and pretty much. I mean, originally that's what it was supposed to be, and it's gotten more carried away than what I thought it would with the front end and everything else. But as stuff kind of came, it was like, okay, I came across the Power Glide, and I figured, well, shoot, I might as well put a Power Glide in it. And, it's just one thing's led into another, so it's got to the point where, pretty much everything, like you say, suspension, chassis-wise, drivetrain, everything's pretty much race car. But yeah, it's going to look as stock as possible. I mean, aside from the black fiberglass bumpers, it's going to look pretty, and obviously the wheels, but
I mean, when you
still has a back seat in it.
Yeah.
That was a real big one that when Funkhauser did the cage, I was like, it's got to have the stock back seat in it. It's got to look,
Did it cuss you out?
No, he didn't. He didn't really mind too much, other than we could have put more strength into the chassis by not having a back seat in it.
Okay.
But again, I want to be able to drive this thing, take my 6-year-old to school in it, and actually get out and about. So, and I'm gonna run. I have the Holley EFI dash for it, so that's the plate off of the steering column, which the steering column will be painted black, so it'll look more factory-ish.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get a radio delete plate, but basically there won't be any other gauges. It'll just have that 12-inch Holley dash in it. So it'll all be digital, tack, all the gauges, everything.
Just to warn you, I know your trolls, your typical trolls are probably going to come over and start talking about how that's not stock, that's not factory, that's
well, it's factory-ish,
yeah.
But I mean, at the same point, it's not. My goal with this car, I'm hoping that it should run in the area of like what most people run in, like tube chassis and back half cars.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it, if I can drive this thing anywhere on the street, it's still super factory appearing.
Yeah.
And it'll run the number. It'll be a lot like what my old Duster was, but just everything's better. My old car didn't have as good of a front clip under it. It had a little lesser motor in it. It had less cage in it. Way lesser quality cage in it.
Right.
Right.
Way
lesser suspension. It just had Caltrax with stock leaf springs, and
yeah.
It worked pretty good for what it was. But this thing should be.
This is a step up.
A lot better. It's got Viking shocks all the way around. Pretty much, anything and everything.
And Wildwood brakes. You go Wildwood on the back too. Or?
Yeah, it's got Willwoods in the front and then they're Strange in the rear.
Oh, okay.
So the rear end's the Dana 60 with 355s, the spool, and 40 spline gun drilled axles. So it's pretty much bulletproof. The rear end that's in it, I don't know if you're familiar with Josh King. He had the green Duster with the Gen 3 Hemi. I think it holds the record for the fastest Gen 3 Hemi. I want to say it went like 690 or something like that in a quarter. But that's the rear end from Josh's car before he put a 9-inch in.
No shit.
So it's, proven parts and everything.
Yeah,
it should work. I mean, I'm sure anything I could ever throw at it.
Yeah, if you could hold up to that, then.
But we redid some stuff on it. The shock mounts were kind of funky, and it had wheelie bar mounts, and I don't need wheelie bars. It's kind of excessive. So
You say that now, but
well, I might need them, but I'm not going to run them. I don't want to be that guy. But and then I think not really a whole lot to look at in the trunk, but it's hinges, but the cage is just real simple back here. Nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it just drops down
over the frame.
The big one that I wanted with it was typically people run them through the down bars in the back through the speaker holes, but it ends up on this end. Those bars, it reminds me of like a Jeep, like they cut way too short.
Oh, okay.
They look funny from behind, so I wanted the cage to follow the roof line as much as possible.
I see. Yeah.
Just to, you know.
No, that's
that right look.
That's actually pretty cool.
So the bad part is it wipes out all the trunk hinge and the torsion supports in it. But I actually have up in the rafters a fiberglass black deck lid. So
all right.
It may end up getting that.
What would you say? 5 pounds?
Dude, this thing,
10 pounds?
it's pretty damn heavy. I
Yeah.
mean, you get when you get those torsions off, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
My last car, I used the steel deck lid, but I trimmed it basically all along the edges.
Yeah.
And just took that inner panel out.
Yeah.
And it probably knocked, I don't know, 15, 20 pounds off of it. I guess.
Really?
It was
wow.
quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a lot more than I thought it would have done.
And then the wheel tub Slim did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, pretty much like Dennis's car.
Oh, yeah.
He pretty much
did sliders.
copied me on that one.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's got the sliders. One thing he did, those were cool. They set up the chute to where basically this bolt here, you can undo this, and you can pull the chute out so you don't have to have the chute on the street.
All right, cool.
And then the chute mount itself is all built into all the, basically behind the bumper. There's brackets under there that...
So strength, so it'll pull the car without
so it'll,
yanking out.
But yeah, it's kind of cool. So you could, without the chute, it's really not going to look that crazy aside from having, expensive wheels and
Right.
stretched on slicks. But
man, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the one that more than anything I want to get done. This is
the car.
This one's way past due. And believe it or not, this is the only car of all the cars that I don't see myself ever selling just because.
Oh, all right.
You got it on video.
The camera is rolling.
I mean, it's one of those things because for one, it's a Duster. It's not worth, I guarantee I have more money into it than what, and it's just, if I could only have one car, my first car was a Duster. I've always had Dusters. I always used to drag race. I miss the racing stuff. So, it's pretty much to the point now where I just want to be able to get back to the track. And I don't care about racing all the time. It's just, I plan on driving it on the street, so.
Well, that's kind of a cool point too about, I think unfortunately over the years as when all these guys were younger and had these cars when they were fairly new or, bought them as used cars and hot rodded them, drag raced them and stuff, but if they held on to them long enough, they got to see the exponential price just skyrocket. Mm-hmm. And then you get to a point where, back then they might have paid $1,500 for a car at a car lot. They took it out, drag raced it, sat in their garage for maybe 15 or 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they go, oh shit, that car is worth 10 grand, 20 grand, 25 grand or whatever. And they figure, I'll cash out. It's a big temptation. And totally. Especially for back then, that was a lot of money, say in the 90s or something,
It's a temptation on the RT.
Well, that's the temptation now. It's just a different scale. Yeah. It's the same thing, but it's a different scale. And, it's almost a curse having a car like that because it's such a cool car and you want to have it and keep it.
You love it, but you always know the dollar signs are there.
Yeah, you got that big enough stack of dollars and you start to go, some of these cars you can pay off your house with them, right? Depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Not so much here in California.
Yeah.
But
pay off my Arizona house.
Yeah, there you go. But, that temptation is huge. I mean, you keep a car that's a toy you get to play with, or do you sell it and pay off a house or something, or pay off your car or whatever? And then the flip side is you have a car that's a toy like this, like a Duster. And I mean, who knows? Maybe 20 years from now, these things will be just as rare. But
they've gotten a lot more expensive. I know
they have.
I think this car when I bought it with the 6-cylinder in it, bone stock, I think I paid $3,500 for it. And it's a factory black car, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But aside from that, there's nothing special about it. The dash was all butchered up, which is why This is actually that dash I got from you that was from the
Oh,
Demon.
no shit. Oh yeah.
Because the frame was uncut, so I had him cut this one and put it in there, and obviously it'll be painted black and dash pad, but
well, you don't have to worry about ever being tempted per se, because
no.
I mean, even though it's going to have a lot of money in it, it's going to be a race car, but I think the amount of fun or enjoyment and it's very much goes with your personality.
Oh, yeah.
Just knowing you for as long as I've known you, it's like you're kind of the duster guy, and it's drag race duster guy.
Well, and it's I mean, I'm sure you know too, from having both cars, just having your duster with a big block in it, and having the Chargers, it's just such a different car. Like
it is.
The Coronet or the Hemi car, reminds me of, it's a B body, and they all drive the same, and they all have that big boaty feel, and they're comfortable.
Yeah.
But to me, there's nothing like the violence of like a big block and an A body. It's just like such crude power and just like such overkill that I don't know.
It's funny you say that, because I drove my Duster the other day. It was a few weeks ago. I was driving it around the neighborhood and stuff, and I'm just like, this thing feels like a freaking death trap, man. I mean, it's rattling, it's violent, like you said.
Yeah, you just.
And I drove the Coronet right afterwards, and I was just like, oh, this B-bodies are so much better. It's so nice,
you
man.
definitely kind of like relive your youth in one of these, because you're at a light and the thing's just shaking its ass off.
Yeah.
But that was actually, pretty much how I got to Dusters and big blocks was I had my first Duster as a 318. I bought a 340 from Ted Evans.
Mm-hmm.
He damn near gave it to me because he was trying to help me out with, against Robert and Jeff and those guys, because they were picking on me, and they had Butch helping them. So Ted was like, "Oh, fuck those guys." But okay, maybe not, but kind of like that.
Yeah.
But he helped me out with it, and then I had a 344 speed Duster, and I tried to build another Duster and didn't get anywhere with it. And I ended up pulling the 340 out and scrapping the car, and then I bought a 65 Coronet, and that was the Coronet that I had.
Yeah, I remember that car.
So I had that car. I threw the 340 in it because I had a blown out Poly 318 in it. Drove it around with the 340, and again, Ted kind of stepped up and was like, hey, I got this 440 that it'll run good. I got this converter that stalls to the moon that I think it's fucked up, but it'll work. And
I remember when I think it was Route 66.
Yeah,
is where I'd see you a lot in that car.
Open header.
Yeah, and it was just like, whoa! You're like barely doing 25 miles an hour. It's like
just the biggest burnout. It's like whenever it did kind of lock up.
Yeah,
it just blow the tires off. It was great. But so after I had that car and experienced the big block, put nitrous on it, that's where I was like, okay, I can never go back to a small block again. They don't do anything for me. And I get, you can do W5 or W2 or whatever, but even guys that are into those are getting to the point where they're going modern Hemis or LSs or other stuff, because it's just. So that was where I hit the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to build another Duster. And I think I started out with a 400. It was a new old stock short block. It was when the Edelbrock heads first came out.
Okay.
A 509 cam that somebody gave me. Like, it was just total junkyard build. Mm-hmm. And first time to the track, and on the bottle, especially first time on the bottle, it went like first pass ever, like 1080.
Damn.
And it was like at Carlsbad. And after that, I was like, holy shit, I'm never doing anything else.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just such a better package. And back then, everybody used to say, "Oh, it's a bitch. It's hard to change the plugs, and they ride like shit. And you got to put big brakes on them." There's all these myths about big block A bodies.
Yeah,
and it was all bullshit. Like, that was probably the easiest spark plugs I ever changed, because they had fender well headers, so you could get to all of them.
Yeah,
I saw like no negatives in it. It was great. So
I bitch about them. I mean, these A bodies are not. It's not a plug and play when you go to a big block in them like it is on a B body. Because the B bodies, they just, everything slides in.
Well, I mean, with the Schumacher mounts, especially once you can get the Schumacher mounts again. To me, that makes it. I mean, that's how I had this set up before I got the Riley front end on it, because it's easy. I mean, to me, you pretty much.
Which Schumacher mounts did you have?
The early style ones, the pad
biscuit
ones.
style.
Yeah, the biscuit. Okay. So you had to chop. You had to notch the thing for the oil pump, the K-member. But aside from that, it really wasn't a big deal, And like you and Dennis were talking with the oil pans, clearances itself, if you run an aftermarket pan, you know, everybody says, oh, you got to run the 187 pan or the 8 Lottie pan. It works fine without it. I mean, and then aside from that, headers are about the only other bitch of it. Yeah. Getting the bell housing bolts are tight, but it's not that bad. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. To me, it's all worth it. You know?
I would have to agree with you there. I mean, I think, although, if for myself, I think this A body with the big block in it is probably it for me. If I did do another one, it would be like I bought the car done. I'm not gonna.
Oh, you're just scratching the surface on your duster. Wait till you start racing it. It's gonna be like slippery slope. You're done.
Yeah, I know. I see your cage and stuff, and I'm already thinking like, well, my cage is pretty crappy compared to this. I mean, not that my car's.
You know what though? Yours would probably cert 850 just like this would. You know, it's just this. I was specific because I wanted it the way I wanted it, and I figured, okay, I don't plan on building any more dusters, kind of like you say. So it's like this one. I want everything to be like 110% what I want, the way I want it, or I'll sell it because I won't be into it. You know? Yeah. So that's why I did that, and then obviously chromoly for weight. Yeah. So. Yeah. But and it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I could probably try and do it myself, but again, if it's only going to be like a once in a lifetime thing, the cost of having it done isn't that excessive.
No, I think you know. I mean, we have perspective probably more than anything, but like. That whole exercise on that duster for me, you know, when I started, it was like I'm never gone fast. You know, it's always been like slow streetcar stuff. But went from the truck, you know, to the Roadrunner to the Coronet, and then it was like the next progression was go with a lightweight A body, put a big block in it. You know, I was already sold on the big block stuff because just from the street standpoint, it's like, dude, I mean. The Roadrunner, I try to put roller rockers on it, and somehow because it's, you know, the lifters are basically hydraulic, it's like I screwed up the lash on it, took it out, you know, went a block away and freaking bent a bunch of push rods and stuff, went the car home, I was so pissed. Yeah. Took all that shit out, threw it away, and put in stock stamp steel rockers in the thing, and that car ran like stink, and, you know, it was like, God, for nothing, you could do nothing exotic in a big block, like just barely step up the cam.
So when my 400 that I had in my last duster, like I say, bone stock cast crank, low compression pistons. It was like a 77 engine. Yeah. With, like I say, an old ass 509 cam in it. Stock rockers, stock stamped rockers. You know, everybody when Edelbrock's came out, oh, you have to run rockers. I ran stamped rockers on it. Yeah. An old ass Team G intake that somebody gave me. And it was an 850 carb that I found, and like I say, let me see, it was only a 180 shot, I think, and it went 1080s, and it would run 1080s like all day long. Like I'd go to the track, and it was like back in the Moparts days. Yeah. And so all the guys I knew from Moparts, like I don't know if you know Ron Silva, he had like a Demon that was beautiful, and then like all his cars were just amazing, and they were all motor cars that were just built. Every fastener was titanium, and everything was cut to length, and I mean, it's just meticulous builds. Yeah. And I remember that dude saw me at Fontana, and he was just mind blown because I had like 6 bottles lined up, and we were at a track run, and I was just 3 passes on each one, and bam, throw in another bottle, make 3 more passes, throw in another bottle. So you know, like 18 passes on the bottle of just hammering it, and it loved it. It would run the same damn thing over and over again. But yeah, I mean, you could get away with a pretty mild freaking combo. Yeah. You know, the stamped rockers, hydraulic cam.
That's what I love about the big blocks. Just you could stay pretty damn simple. I mean, if you're gonna do a street car and you just want a nice hot rod, put a little cam in it, and that's it. And the things
they got these carburetor plates that you can put on them.
Yeah. Oh, what are those things?
It's part of the carb plate. It's for adjustable
tuning.
Tuning.
Holds the carb plate to the carburetor.
You got a second one back here. And yeah, I mean, you'll be running.
They really run.
Your car, Dennis's car, 10s all day long. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Crop Duster's a perfect example. Look at that. He's struggling, messing with converters, puts a tiny system on it.
Throws nitrous on it.
And that car is like a perfect example. I mean, imagine if they threw a 250 or 275 shot at that thing. Like, it'd probably run 980s. Yeah. Like, that's impressive as all hell.
Yeah, sure.
But
Ted was I posted a video when we were over at Dennis's on something. We were talking about Dennis's car, and I think he was talking about the converter in the stall, and then Ted made a comment in there about he should be running a 5500 stall in it or something like that. And I'm like, whoa, 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 don't be helping Dennis out right now. Not yet. Let's get out to the track first. Let's help me out. And then after I take Dennis down, then you can help him out.
I'm telling you, man, that carb plate, you'll fuck Dennis up. That's all it's going to take.
We might have to go there.
I've been trying to get him to do it, but I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it definitely, I don't know, you go that far, and then that's where it progresses. I mean, that's also where you'll probably start breaking stuff. And then
yeah, I think that's...
You'll be putting a Dana in it.
Yeah, that's sort of my fear, is that it's the creep. It's the scope creep that, you know, I don't
me,
really...
though, if you get it to the point where it runs, you know, Verona 620 to 640, that's freaking cooking. Like, that's, you know, high 9s, low 10, and that's still at a point where you can get away with you're not breaking a ton of stuff, but, you know, anymore anyways.
Yeah,
but, I don't know. I think you get to that point and you'll have a blast with it.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if you break it once in a while, you'll be like, oh, well, it's not, you know. It hits a point where it's kind of worth it.
Yeah.
But I got lucky all the years, man. I never really... I think I had one engine that was a high compression deal that I actually got from Dennis. I want to say it was like a 12.5 or 13-to-1 motor. Had like a Mopar 590 cam, and it had some heads that I don't know what they were, some 906s or some shit. And I took those off and put a set of Edelbrocks on it, and I took it to the track, and I made like, it was at Fontana, and probably like half track, maybe 3/4 of the track, it started cutting out weird. And I let off. I stayed in it for a second, and I let out of it, and it went 10:04. And I don't remember what the mile an hour was. I mean, and that was letting out like way early on it. Yeah. And it ended up, and it was 110 race fuel in it too. Between the cylinders on the heads, it blew the head gasket, and then it actually torched the aluminum head. So it had like a tunnel that went from one combustion chamber to the other. Oh, man. And it was like, I pulled it apart, and I was like, holy shit, like it straight melted it. Like, wow. It was pretty bad. I mean, luckily it didn't mess up the block or anything, but it torched the head, which wasn't that big of a deal. I had somebody weld it up and cleaned it up. Yeah. New head gaskets, and it was back together. But it was still that one pass that was like, man, that thing would have freaking, had I been able to make a full pass, I'm sure it would have went, you know, 960, 970. Yeah. But, and it was only a 440. But I think that was a 250 or 275 shot. Wow. So I was getting a little greedy with it at that point. But typically, I think I ran a 225 is what I had in the car most of the time. And that was a good ceiling. Yeah. It was just a big shot system with whatever the smallest jets were. So I mean, I seemed happy at that. But yeah, whenever you're ready, man.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I know you don't ever want to put nitrous on if Dennis is watching.
Yeah. I would never put nitrous on my car, just in case Dennis is watching, so he doesn't have anything to worry about.
And you guys were right on your other video. If and when we do get to race, there definitely won't be any overpasses. So,
yeah, I told Dennis.
Comes correct, Dennis.
We would just wait for you to run out of nitrous. But you say you got how many bottles? I see 4 over there, and I know there's 1 in the trunk.
Yeah, and there's a couple down in the bottom garage.
Yeah.
And there's another bottle over there. There's a tall bottle in the corner.
A settling bottle there.
It's nitrous.
Nice.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah, we had our own fill station and everything back then. It was cool. So we could fill them ourselves. And at that point, I think it was only costing us, doing them ourselves, it was like $1 a pound or something. It wasn't even expensive. Wow. But, yeah. I don't know if I could get it anywhere now. I'd probably have to pay for it.
Yeah. Man. All right, cool. Well, we probably ought to button it up there, Mike. Yeah. I appreciate it, man. It's freaking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we could probably keep going forever. We didn't even touch the band.
I think we could. Yeah, I know. I talked about the band. I'd love to talk about the band.